If you thought John McClane's vest had it bad in Die Hard, wait until you see Norman Nordstrom's vest in Don't Breathe 2. Hey guys, welcome to Marcus Loves Movies. My name is Marcus Lee and welcome to my Don't Breathe 2 movie review, the follow-up to Don't Breathe, which was released in 2016. If you haven't seen that first movie, then please go watch that before watching the sequel. But this is going to be a spoiler-free movie review, or as spoiler-free as possible. I'm going to talk about the movie today, but first let me give you a quick plot outline. A blind veteran named Norman Nordstrom must use his military training to save a young orphan from a group of thugs who break into his home. The movie stars Stephen Lang, Brandon Sexton III, Madeline Grace, and it's directed by Rodo Sayagues. I think some sequels are completely unnecessary. A recent example being Coming to America, which we got at the start of this year. That was such a paper-thin excuse for coming out with a sequel. So sometimes we just don't need a follow-up. Leave the original alone. However, with Don't Breathe 2, I think we've got a realistic, plausible reason for a sequel. The filmmakers have got a good idea and they've ran with it, and I think it works. Even if you haven't seen the first film, which I highly recommend you do, you know that our main character, Norman Nordstrom, is not a nice guy. He's not a particularly good guy. In fact, he's a bit of an anti-hero, which puts you in a position immediately of who do you root for when you know that this isn't a nice person that you should be rooting for. But what happens is you've got people breaking into his house, which also happens in the first film. So then it becomes a case of, well, who do I root for? Do I root for these people who are breaking into his house because we know he's not a nice person? Or do we get on the side of the person who's having their home broken into because ultimately we put ourselves in the shoes of the person who's having their home broken into because we imagine we are that character. The movie doesn't take long to get started on the action front and we get our first what the chuff moment about 10 minutes in as something very unexpected happens that we don't see coming, and from there the tension really starts to ramp up. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I love my long unbroken shots, and we get that as these robbers move into Norman's home, and we get that tension as this camera just moves around the house panic room style, and we get to see that tension really go to 110. We have goons that are all despicable, some who are less likable than others if it's even possible, and what we're waiting to see is how is Norman going to handle it. He's going to handle it with violence, right? He's a former Navy SEAL and he's not going to take kindly to people breaking into his home. I have to wonder in movies like this, when people get knocked out, hit in the head with bricks, shot at, stabbed, how do they keep going in fights? I mean, me personally, if I stub my toe, I'm taking 2 days off work. The thing I like about this movie is that it's got a very simple, straightforward 90s movie feel. It's people breaking in and some guy is gonna handle it, he's gonna deal with it. That movie for me is very simple and easy to watch. I thought it was quite quick paced, it's a tight movie, there's not lots of faff, there's not lots of unnecessary detail. It is what it is. It's people who are breaking into this house. They are going after this young girl who's played by Madeline Grace, and the blind man, Norman Nordstrom, is gonna handle his business. There's a short building process at the start of the film where we get introduced to these new characters, but then the film just goes for it. You could argue there's not a lot of character development, but this isn't one of those films where we need to learn lots about our characters. We just want to see how is Norman going to handle these people who've broken into his house. For the most part, I thought the film was pretty plausible in how it handled most of the things that happened on screen. Yes, it's brutal. Yes, it's violent. Yes, it's graphic, and you can feel that pain through the screen, but it all seemed reasonable to me in how it handled it. There was one part that I thought I'm not massively on board with how they've handled that. Norman is a blind man and he has to get from point A to point B in one particular scene. Bearing in mind that he doesn't really use a walking stick and he doesn't really leave his house, but Norman has to get from one point to the other. And the way the filmmakers dealt with it is they created a scenario where he has to get from here to there. And you could argue that, yes, it works, but I thought it was a bit of a cop-out, and that's when it went a little bit Hollywood and a little bit unrealistic, in my opinion. Overall, I'd say this was a decent watch. It was fast-paced, there was high tension, I was never bored. It actually makes you realise what truly crap parenting looks like. If you've ever questioned your parents, make sure you go watch this and then you'll see what I mean. No spoilers from me there. But yeah, a decent popcorn movie. One that you could wait for it to come out on video on demand. It's not necessarily a big screen cinema movie, but I enjoyed it. A decent watch. And also, by the way, make sure you stick around to the end credits. Little tip from me. So my official Marcus Loves Movies rating for Don't Breathe 2 is, drumroll, 3.5 stars. So those are my thoughts about the movie. I hope that encourages you to go watch it. Please let me know what you think about going to see this movie. And if you've already seen this movie, what did you think of it? Did you think it was brilliant? Did you think it was terrible? Did you think it was middle of the road? Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And whilst you're here, please could you do me a big favor? Could you give this video a thumbs up? I would really appreciate that. And secondly, if you do like movie reviews and trailer reactions and movie discussion, can I ask you to subscribe to this YouTube channel? I would really appreciate that. And also hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I release a brand new video. That would make my day, and it might make yours too. Who knows? Listen, thank you for checking out my Don't Breathe 2 movie review, and thank you for checking out Marcus Loves Movies. I hope to see you on the next video. So until then, take care of yourselves, and thanks for watching.